What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we get to talk about Beyond Good and Evil's 20th Anniversary Edition. Kind of a shocker. I wasn't like planning to do anything about it. Obviously, it's a very popular, first game, and we've been waiting for the second game for literally forever. But Ubisoft reached out, and I want to thank them, for supporting the content, supporting the channel, and providing me a code for this game. Didn't think it was gonna happen. I didn't even go out, kind of looking for it. So here's what I did when I play games. I really try to go all the way through them if I'm going to do a full-on review. I kind of believe full reviews need to be, playing through the whole game. Impressions videos are not like that. So yesterday, I actually played through half of this game. I dedicated a large chunk of last night to getting through as much as I could, not rushing it because I wanted to kind of take it in. But I did play about half of the game. So I feel pretty, able to speak about it, but I don't want to call it just a full-on review. Maybe something happens, in terms of the graphical fidelity or, whatever in the second half of this game. But I'm here to tell you, honestly, the game rocks. Now, should I unveil a secret that it's not really a secret, but I don't think it's something I've ever said before. I've never played the original. I've watched it before. I've seen it. I know what it is. I got excited for the second game, 30 years ago when they showed it. Maybe I rented or played it as a friend's house, but I never sat through at least the time that I did last night. And to my recollection, I don't remember playing it at all. So this is my first time going through it. The game freaking rocks. And it's not, you kind of almost have to separate it between, okay, well, let's look at the game itself, how good the game is. And then you have to also look at, okay, well, what did they do for this almost remaster type project? And I think they did a really good job. I was watching some videos of comparisons from the original to this game, and I think things look smoother. I don't know if smooth is maybe, look, I'm not Digital Foundry out there, right, breaking it down like champs, but, from what I can tell, from what it did look like, and up till this point, and then obviously what they did here, everything just looks a little bit smoother around the edges, from the characters to the textures. I think the lighting looks better from what I have seen. And, okay, well, if you just throw away, okay, well, do we always have to compare it to the original? Well, you kind of do, but let's separate it for a second. The game looks and runs pretty darn well. There's a couple things, almost like some jankiness between when a character is talking and a camera is switching, angles. If it's looking at, say, one character, then it has to swap to another. Sometimes there's a little jank there where it can kind of be before or after, like a certain action is supposed to happen. So I found that, but only a couple times, maybe like 2 or 3 times in the many hours that I put into this game so far. So honestly, from the visual side, thinking about 2004, and that was Sly Cooper 2's year, but there were a lot of other games that came out in 2004. For being in 2004, I think the original looked good. I think this remaster looks really good because I do think the colors shine a little bit more. I think the character model of Paige or Jade or, whoever you're talking about, or just the textures in general, I think it looks pretty darn good. You're not going to fool somebody into thinking, the game came out this year, but I think the idea here is let's celebrate the anniversary of this game, a game that on its own, and we're about to talk about that, say you've never played it before, a game that on its own is extremely good and still, I would say, holds up miraculously well 20 years later. I've played a lot of games for my third channel, Back to the Past, and I've played games 5 years old, 10, 15, 20, 25, and this is one of the better ones, I would say, at holding up. And maybe it's because of more like the picture taking, kind of method, but I like the gameplay loop. I like the idea of what you're supposed to be doing in this game. I think everything flows extremely well. It's not the longest game of all time. If you're doing a lot of things in this game, should probably only take you maybe 7 to 10 hours, to get through everything. And that's maybe, I got stuck actually a few times. There's some puzzle solving things, so you kind of have to get used to. But I think just as a core game, the game is awesome. And I'm really glad, almost accidentally, I was able to actually give it a go, and I'll be finishing it within the next day or two. But then also the enhancements that they made, I feel, now again, I don't really know if it's completely up to me. This is why it's an impressions video, not necessarily a review. I feel this is the best way to play it. Now, I played on PS5. I should say that out loud. Now, I've seen some talk on the PC version that maybe it's a little bit weaker. I found no problems. There was no glitches. There was no crashing. Like I said, the only thing was more of like the 2004 kind of jank where something would kind of switch when it wasn't supposed to. The controls largely hold up, but some of the boat controls, when you're spinning it, it's a weird control mechanism. Like left isn't always left. Sometimes you have have to almost reverse your analog stick. The D-pad, I don't think operates, so even when you're talking to somebody and it has choices, of what you can say, you have to use the analog stick, not the D-pad. The D-pad just doesn't even work. So some stuff like that, it didn't get me away from playing the game in any way. It was just something, to kind of keep in mind that there is some jank. There's some jank with the controls. There's some jank with kind of the back and forth, maybe speech patterns of these characters. But I think these characters rock. Jade is a great character that I never really, put much stock in, probably because I never played it, but she's a great character. So is Paige. So I really think they did a great job all the way around back in 2004. And okay, well, what if you've never played this game before? Well, what do you do in this thing? So the game's kind of broken down into, a couple different sectors, right? You're going from mission to mission. There's a little opportunity to go out and explore. And in fact, you're going to want to, because the whole game's ecosystem is kind of off of pearls, right? You want to collect pearls, and these can be through kind of side things that you do in a main mission. You'll have a big map, and you can sometimes do side stuff. You can go exploring and play some mini games and earn pearls. You can buy them with the currency in the game that you pretty much earn by doing anything, breaking things, destroying enemies, or taking enemies out. So there's a nice little loop there where there's constant need basically to be earning these currencies, so you're getting pearls to unlock the rest of the game. But in the meantime, you'll be, again, there's some main missions that are kind of gigantic, and it's kind of split between, you got some boat stuff, some vehicular combat basically as it gets going. You got your own hand-to-hand or melee or whatever you want to call them. You kind of have a bow staff type thing going on. And 2004, not necessarily new in terms of modern controls. I actually think the fighting is not that bad. It's very, very simple. There's a couple combo type things. You have your ally that you can kind of introduce in, and generally the AI is pretty smart. I did find one time where they were pretty dumb, but generally they help you out. They have their special move that can definitely make things easier in terms of combat. So combat overall, again, are you going to convince people it came out this year? No, but the combat is solid enough. The puzzle solving and exploration, I actually think, are very good. This is one of those, if you complain about the paint on the walls, which we've talked about that before, but I don't have a huge issue. This is a game where you're gonna have to think. There's sometimes context clues. There's abilities to talk to your allies, and your allies will almost hint at what you have to do. But there is no neon light pointing to, hey, push this box or do this or do that. And a lot of the jumping is automatic, so sometimes you don't even know, well, am I allowed to jump on this box? You kind of just have to walk up to it and hope that she, does something with it. So I think it pushes you to think, because the map, there is generally a clear path of going from one zone to the next and completing the mission, but you're gonna have to go off the beaten path quite a lot to get, say, a fuse, right? There's I believe the second main mission in this game, you actually have to do quite a few things, like turn the electricity, and these will connect to new powers that you get. So you'll get a glove that you're able to kind of shoot things instead of take pictures, and that's a core mechanic that you'll have to use to do puzzle solving. So it's that type of game. But I think the combat is serviceable. The enemy variety is pretty cool. The puzzle solving is pretty darn neat. The way they introduce new things to you. Also, the picture taking. This is a game that, there's story reasons behind her taking pictures, but also you want to capture pretty much every species, and there's rewards to filling up your film. And I actually had a blast doing it. And there's some strategy, because a lot of things that you want to take pictures of will sometimes be enemies. So enemies will be attacking you. You have a dodge type mechanic, but enemies will be attacking you, and you'll have to, you don't have to, but you should take pictures of them as they're attacking you, and they can do damage, and you don't have too much health in this game. So, it's an interesting, I'd say, core mechanic and core loop that I had a blast with. The game didn't feel old in any way, and I'm just really happy I was able to at least start to, right, about half of it, experience it. I think the world is really cool. It's also a darker type game. There's actually some themes in this game that are quite dark. Not maybe right away. It kind of settles you into the characters and what they're doing, kind of just a freelance kind of gig type thing. But then it gets more serious, as the game goes. And it actually gets very serious. So I'm impressed by it. I'm really glad I was able to play it. And honestly, I would implore people, if this is an easy thing to say. If you've never played the game before, again, I do believe this is the easiest easiest way of doing it and probably the best way. I mean, I just generally believe that. But I actually believe this is a very good game just on its own. And, I always assumed that. I always figured there were, like, again, Beyond Good and Evil's trailer, 2's trailer, I always thought was really great. I was excited for it. I knew what this game was, and I would, like, watch stuff on it. But, picking it up and actually experiencing it for, like, a long stretch of time, there's a great game in here, and it doesn't take long, actually, at all. Actually, right in the beginning, it kind of just gets you going. So it doesn't take you long at all to realize that you're playing a cult classic. And this game really, it started not all that popular. This game kind of grew as time went on, and then obviously, took quite a while to get even to the trailer of Beyond Good and Evil 2. So I'm impressed by it. I'm really happy with it. So if you're looking for a game to play late June and you're not into Elden Ring, I do recommend this one. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.